And tonight in Hannity's America, it's day 3, and already there's a potential for conflict in the Obama White House. The vice president appears to be at odds with Treasury Secretary-designate Tim Geithner regarding the payment, or in his case, the non-payment of his taxes. Let's take a look.
We want to take money and put it back in the pocket of middle-class people.
Anybody making over $250,000 is going to pay more.
You got it. It's time to be patriotic.
I want to address directly the concerns many of you have raised about the mistakes I made in preparing my tax returns. These were careless mistakes. They were avoidable mistakes. Now, that was a mistake. These were careless mistakes. They were avoidable mistakes. Critical mistake I made was at the beginning, that first year, and because I didn't catch it after that, I kept making it. It was very clear that this was an avoidable mistake. It should have been avoided. I would never put myself in the position where I was intentionally not meeting my obligations as an American taxpayer. In this case, I made a series of mistakes, and again, I regret those mistakes.
All right, now let me get this straight. If the vice president thinks that someone who pays his taxes is patriotic, well, what does that make someone who fails to pay his taxes and made mistake after mistake after mistake when doing so? Now, Mr. Biden, are you calling the Treasury Secretary-designate unpatriotic? Obama spokesman Robert Gibbs held his first press conference today when challenged as to why the president signed an executive order regarding Gitmo when it is abundantly clear the administration still has no clue what it's going to do with all those detainees. Mr. Gibbs had this to say.
You're now signing the executive order without a plan for where the detainees will be. What assurances can you give?
We signed an executive order to establish a plan for what happens.
What assurances can you give the American people these detainees just won't wind out on the streets, won't go back to their home countries and launch new terror attacks?
I can assure them that all of what you just enumerated will be undertaken and studied as part of a commission to look into these very complex, very detailed questions. The president believes that he enhanced the security of the American people.
Now that charader's only going to fly for so long, Mr. Gibbs, and then it's time for Plan B, giving us some real answers. In other Obama administration news, former Secretary of Labor and Obama advisor Robert Reich, he chimed in with his input on the stimulus package. Now, Mr. Reich expressed concern that the current package is, well, too inclusive.
I am concerned, as I'm sure many of you are, that these jobs not simply go to high-skilled people who are already professionals or to white male construction workers. I have suggested to you, and I'm certainly happy to talk about it more, ways in which the money can be, criteria can be set so that the money does go to others, the long-term unemployed, minorities, women, people who are not necessarily construction workers or high-skilled professionals.
Now, here I thought the package was intended for everybody. So aren't pink slips colorblind? Now, here's hoping Mr. Reich does not have the president's ear on this one. Another election cycle means another slew of Democratic accusations of Republican attempts to suppress votes. Now, RedState.com posted this video of Virginia Democratic Congressman Jerry Connolly yesterday sounding mighty selective about who he wants to see voting. Now, take a look at enfranchisement Connolly style.
It's really important we tell every Democrat we know this election is on Tuesday, February 3rd. And we tell every Republican we know this election is on Tuesday, February 10th.
All right, all for voting rights until the election gets too close for comfort. So how do you like them ethics? And finally tonight, in a curious case of cause and effect confusion, the LA Times reports that the LAPD is limiting when its officers can wear protective gear to defuse riots out of fear that the riot helmets escalate rioter passions. Now, the lack of headgear so calmed rioters that a January 10th anti-Israel protest at one police officer was whacked in the head with a wood post of a protest sign. Now, the incident sparked complaints from police officers worried for their safety. Defenders of the policy argue that the gear intimidates rioters. So I'm kind of guessing the police uniforms don't do much for them either. And that is the news tonight from Hannity's America.